Greetings everyone, hello and welcome to a surprise announcement. Yesterday, finally we got the sequel to Transport Fever 2 announced, that is Transport Fever 3. The first trailer is already online together with the first in-game screenshots and also a release window of when we can expect this beautiful logistical management simulation, the next one in the big Transport Fever franchise, and I can't wait for this. Before we dive into the screenshots and the details and the features, let's have a quick look at the trailer.
Transport is at the heart of human civilization. From the early days of transportation to the latest wonders of technology. Starting out is simple. But there is no limit to complexity. No matter where, no matter the challenge, efficiency brings success, and progress never ends. Are you ready to connect the world? Transport Fever 3.
Alright, so what can we learn from this? Well, first of all, they can make trailers, right? And also we've seen now that the game is coming out in 2026, so next year. In this case here, we can see already quite a few things based on the trailer. The first one is that we have biomes now. Jungles now, we have deserts now. We have the normal, the tropical ones, of course, the jungles. We have the temperate climate zone. So different climate zones we can use now. And what they've also hinted already and what I've seen in the text is that you can have these different biomes on one map. So this is one of the big additions that is coming out of this. Whereas in the previous game we were playing on one biome on one map, right? Now we probably will have different biomes on the same map. That's actually something that I'm really looking forward to. The next big addition that we will definitely have is offshore industries, or our offshore industries. That means, for example, that we have now oil platforms. We have bigger water entities, bigger water masses on a map, where you can then also find resources on the map, on the ocean, in the ocean, and you can then also use ships, for example, or helicopters. That is something new that you can use to transport resources from the ocean to the land, and one of them will be these oil rigs that we can already see, and there's already the helicopter then coming as well, so they definitely will include that. When I'm looking at the screenshots for the street levels, so for the cities, that first of all, the cities will be way more dense. Bear in mind, this is not in-game footage though, right? So this is rendered. But we can already see that we will have now subways and trains that you can go through the city and into the underground as well. That is also a new addition that we haven't seen in Transport Fever 2 yet. Also, when looking at the city images in general, we can see that the cities will be much bigger. So this is then also something we'll see in these screenshots later. So one of the major goals of the Transport Fever 3 game will be to have an engine overhaul, to have an engine performance improvement that allows for bigger, more organic looking cities. So in Transport Fever 2, it was always a bit of a problem with the growth, right? That at some point the city just stops to grow in its entity, and you need to have 3 or 4 cities close to each other that are merging together. Now this is very realistic in real life world, of course, but it also had the problem that when you had a big city isolated somewhere that has great resources, that at some point the city just was way too small for its size, and that looked a bit strange, right? Also, those cities, the organic growth that Transport Fever 2 is already doing pretty nicely, honestly, had its limits, especially when it comes to layouts, especially when it comes to neighborhoods, to suburbs that are forming around the downtown area. This is something they want to improve and will improve in Transport Fever 3 greatly. So I'm looking forward to bigger cities, more organic looking cities, and we can also see that we have way more features in city building than before, like huge bridges, like better public transportation, and so on. Based on additional footage from the industries, we can also see that industries will be much bigger. So we already have the new addition of the offshore industries in the ocean. And now what comes in addition is that those industries will be way bigger in its size. So I'm also thinking about way more modular. So in Transport Fever 2, right, you had one industrial building that grew, but within its boundary, it grew by adding another building or so, right? And adding another storage area. And now I think we're going to see way more assets, way more buildings in a compound, so that we can even probably add different industries together into an industrial complex, from where then new transport routes, of course, can be created from. So last but not least, from the trailer, what I can see still is also, of course, the platforms that we have now. So the game is coming to Steam, but that's also new. It's coming also to PS5 and Xbox on day one. That's going to be an addition. And yeah, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic about how they handle the UI thing, because every game that comes to all the platforms usually has a pretty bad UI on the PC, based on my experience. So I hope they're kind of like finding a middle ground here to also satisfy PC players, of course, which I think is the target audience, really. So the Steam page is already online, so you can also go for this. The link is in the video description to wish this the game. Of course, you should really do this. And by the way, I haven't done it here yet, so let's go ahead and do it right away. Now, once again, in the features, we can see that we're going to have, once again, maps with several cities in them, from small towns to vast metropolises, and you can connect them. You can also develop those cities with your logistical network. We're going to have over 30 different industries that operate on and offshore. So that's as many industries as ever before. So that's a new record here. And yeah, with that, of course, a lot of different logistical chains, production chains to satisfy on huge, vast maps. The sentence here is pretty interesting. So every citizen has a home, a job, and a place to go. So this indicates that there will be a greater emphasis on simulation of individuals. In Transport Fever 2, you already had this to some extent, but it was still very limited. And you kind of like, if you look at a city, you can see that some people just go in circles, right? So I'm hoping a bit more emphasis, like in City Skylines 2, for example, of where someone lives, where someone works, and where someone wants to go. Perhaps we also have then leisure activities where we can transport people to. So once again, also we have then here the different climates that we can have together with a day and night, so a day and night cycle. And also we have alpine slopes, so the mountainsides. I'm looking forward to this as I live in the Alps. We also have temperate climates, tropical deserts, so all of that will be in a combination on a map. Subarctic is actually something I haven't seen yet, and this is something that I'm also looking forward to. Perhaps they have even their own vehicles for the subarctic areas then. The next part is also then pretty interesting, and that is that we're going to get also the community handcrafted maps right away from the beginning. So this is actually something they're promoting. So you can make your own maps and then share them with the community, and other people can then also download your maps right away. Of course, this will be the question if also console players will be able to use them, or even create their own maps and then share them with all the players, independent from the platform. That would be pretty great. Another thing is we're going to see scenarios again. There is no mentioning of a campaign in the text so far. Transport Fever 2 had a campaign to some extent, so we're going to see scenarios, probably challenge modes as well. It's actually down here as well, challenge levels, so that's actually pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to these. They were definitely lacking in Transport Fever 2. Of course, Sandbox is the ultimate experience, I think, but having some challenges here and there is also nice, without too much story, please. And for those of you who just want to relax and turn your brain off in the evening, which is totally fine as well, then you can also go for the creative mode that is also going to be added on day one. That means there's not going to be any money or something like that, or finances you need to worry about, or efficiency levels you need to worry about. Last but not least, what we can also see here is there's contracts. So we'll just see how that works out. So I can see that we get during a playthrough that we get contracts, perhaps time limited, perhaps volume of goods that you need to transport, and you do get rewards out of that. Unfortunately, one thing that we don't see here, and I don't think that we're going to see in Transport Fever 3, and that is actually a feature I would have loved for the successor, that we have different AI companies working on the same map, right? Competing for land, competing for cities, competing for industries. And unfortunately, based on what I've seen so far, also on the trailer, I don't think we're going to see AI competitors. This brings me to the images, and finally we have now in-game screenshots as well, right? The trailer was mostly pre-rendered, And now we also have in-game screenshots. So this is new actually, and we can already see, of course, the new vehicle types that we get, like the helicopters, for example. We can also see that we have way more water than before. I think this is probably the Alpine map we can see, and we can also see a smaller city there in the distance already, with another smaller town close by. Looking up closely, for example, for trains, of course, trains, one of the biggest points in the transport games, of course, trains are way more detailed. Also up close, you have higher density of vegetation. You also can see further. So this is, of course, something that we have thanks to the engine improvements. And as I mentioned, we can see how much bigger the industries will be, in fact. So based on the vehicles we can see right now and on the industry, the scale will be just much bigger than Transport Fever 2, where some industries really looked a bit small in comparison to the trucks moving in, right? And now we have definitely a more realistic scale of the whole thing. So this one also is then on the desert map with the new vegetations. Really looking forward to all the different biomes. That's definitely a very nice addition. Also, finally, offshore industries. I have no idea what this is, a sand mine, probably something like that right now in the middle of the ocean. And yeah, your ships go for this and then bring it back to the shore. And this is something I'm really looking forward to, because in Transport Fever 2, all we had really was rivers, right? And yeah, you basically have your ships going down the river to another port, where a truck could also have done the job just as easily. You can perhaps have an island somewhere, and then you're transporting things back, but once again, then a plane would be more suitable. So with the offshore industries, we now really have the center point for ships, and also, of course, for helicopters. If that is profitable, well, we'll just see. I would love to get workers over there, for example, with a helicopter, right? So the goods will be transported with the ship and the workers with the helicopters. Perhaps that is an addition we can see. Another image that we have from a city or from a suburb, so this is definitely not downtown of any kind, but it's a bigger city. We have trams now once again in the game. We have traffic, of course. They just updated the traffic in Transport Fever 2, so it's a bit more, it's smarter, right? And it also takes different lanes now. So I'm hoping that this edition also comes in Transport Fever 3 again, that we have, when we have different lanes, that cars that are faster overtake the slower cars and the slower trams and stuff like that, because that was a pretty annoying thing in Transport Fever 2. Now they fixed it in the autumn update, and of course that should then also lead to a baseline feature in Transport Fever 3. Also, what I can see is trams will be much longer, so that's a nice thing. And of course, we also get all different kind of buses again. Once again, I also love how dense the whole thing looks, right? Vegetation-wise, we also have higher density gardens, for example, for the buildings. So this definitely is much more improved. Last image we have for now, once again, is a different biome. So now we're looking at the tropics, and also we can see that the sun is going down right now. So yeah, once again, hints at a realistic day and night cycle. That is something we don't have in Transport Fever 2 yet. And also we get a cruiser there on the in the ocean again. So passenger transportation with ships is also a thing. Once again, I'm looking forward to this as well. All the other information we have here, the dry information, if you're interested in that, is that we have controller support now, also dual shock support and dual sense support. So PS5 controllers can be used as well on day one. That is pretty cool. Steam achievements are there again as well. And also we get full audio support in English and German. And you get different languages like French, Italian, and Spanish also with text support. But so far it seems like only English and German are audio supported. So these are all the information we have right now about Transport Fever 3. I was really surprised yesterday, and I just wanted to share that news with you in case you missed it. You missed the trailer announcement.